Arkham City Part 6, Ice House. Gotham City, New Jersey, Monday, January 18th, 2021. Well, Batman had passed the trial of the demons, and now he made his way back to the forensics laboratory in the old police substation in Arkham City. There, it was the home of Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze was working away at some of the machinery in his laboratory. As Batman walked up to him, Freeze sensed him, and he says, "Ah, good, Batman. I am glad you made it back alive. Do you have what I need?" Batman pulls out of his utility belt the blood sample Ra's al Ghul. Freeze takes it from Batman's hands and puts it inside a machine. The machine sucks all the blood and begins making the antidote. And soon, 2 test tubes full of neon blue liquid fill up. And Mr. Freeze says to Batman, "Excellent. It worked. Now you have the antidote." So Mr. Freeze takes both of the test tubes of antidote and he crushes one in his hands, freaking out Batman. Batman says aloud,
"What are you doing?"
And Mr. Freeze says, "You're done giving orders, Batman." Then he puts the second antidote inside a safe, and Batman says to Mr. Freeze,
"Freeze, now's not the time to be doing this to me."
And Mr. Freeze says, antagonizing Batman, "Well, Batman, you don't look too well." Batman had gave Freeze another warning, and Mr. Freeze says to Batman, "It's the clown. He has my wife." Of course, Batman explained to Mr. Freeze that he didn't have time to go rescue his wife, and Mr. Freeze says, "Oh, you do, Batman. You won't have the antidote until you bring my wife back from the clown." Well, Batman ran to the safe, but Mr. Freeze quickly got out his freeze gun and shoots a round at the safe, freezing it. Batman quickly backs away, and then Batman says to Mr. Freeze,
"That's it, Victor Freeze. You want to play hardball? We'll play hardball."
Then Mr. Freeze says to Batman as he activates his voice changer, "So be it, Batman. Then prepare to
Die.
Batman runs for cover, taking advantage of the thick ice fog in the lab, and the fact that his batsuit can conceal his heat signature, but not very well now that it had taken damage. So, as Batman was hiding, Mr. Freeze uses his freeze gun and freezes the girders on the ceiling to make sure Batman can't climb up there to attack him from above. Batman had to play this smart. Mr. Freeze was not stupid. He was cold and calculating. No pun intended. As Batman was just trying to keep on the move ahead of Mr. Freeze goes around looking for him using his goggles' infrared vision, and he says to Batman,
"You know what is death, Batman? Death is cold."
But in the floor above him, Batman was standing on the railing, and Batman had begun to use the very same jamming device that Freeze gave him to jam the gun. And then Mr. Freeze sees Batman and says,
"There you are."
Batman leaps from the railing onto Mr. Freeze, but Mr. Freeze also had strength amplification in his suit and violently flung Batman far into the air. He didn't see where Batman landed, but he could hear where he landed at as he heard a loud crash of broken beakers and a table turning over. Then Mr. Freeze presses a few buttons on his suit and on the freeze gun, and he says to Batman aloud,
"Very nice move using my own technology against me, but you only will get away with this once, not again."
So Batman quickly opened a vent and went into the ventilation beneath the floor as he crawled around, and Mr. Freeze was just looking for him, taunting him. And as Freeze got close to the vent where Batman was hiding at, Batman quickly leaps out of the vent and lays a few rounds on him and then runs. Freeze regains his composure and ends up freezing the entire ventilation system beneath the floor. Now Batman could not use it. Batman had to think of another way to get to Freeze. And then there was one more way to do it, and Batman knew he had to execute this right. He only had one chance. There was a giant AC generator on the wall, and if Batman could rig it to expel enough electricity to hopefully short out his suit, it could weaken him. And then Batman went to that AC generator and quickly rigged it. And he hid. He also saw a giant icicle on the ceiling, and Batman only had one on him, a special batarang with a small explosive charge on it. And he knew if he could hit the giant icicle, it could come crashing down onto Freeze, stopping him. So Batman was waiting. Timing was of the essence, as the charge on the AC generator was building up, and Mr. Freeze was coming down the stairs. And as he did that, Freeze got on the landing where the generator was at, and suddenly the timing was perfect. The AC generator suddenly belted out a stream of electricity towards Freeze, sending Freeze flying back. Freeze falls down the lower half of the stairs and lands on the ground below, and then Batman quickly throws the explosive-tipped batarang at the giant icicle. The icicle comes falling down on Freeze as he was quickly getting back up to go after Batman. The icicle hits Freeze directly. Freeze wasn't hurt, but it damaged his suit, including breaking the front half of his glass helmet. And as Freeze was on the ground, Batman quickly leaps on top of Freeze and begins punching his face. As Batman was punching Freeze's face, suddenly Mr. Freeze's face turns into the Joker's face, and he could hear the Joker's laugh in his head. Batman stops punching Freeze and gets off of him. And then, after everything was back to normal, Batman sees Freeze on the ground, his face bleeding, and he was looking at Batman with his infrared goggles on, and he says, without his voice changer on, "Please, please, don't kill me. No, Batman, don't kill me. Take pity on me." And Batman says to Mr. Freeze, walking over to him and helping him up,
"Oh my God, Victor, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm terribly sorry."
Batman walks Mr. Freeze over to a workbench in the far corner of the old forensics lab. There he helps Freeze fix some more important parts of his damaged suit. And then Freeze says to Batman, "Please, Batman, please. Just save my wife. That's all I ever want." Batman apologizes to Freeze again, and he says that he will. And then Freeze gives him a radio transmitter to put on his wife's cryo unit when he finds her. And then Batman heads over to the safe. He breaks the ice of the safe and quickly opens the safe where his cure is at. Suddenly, the cure was gone. And in the safe was a giant hole in the back of the safe that looked like it was made with a small explosive charge, and a Joker card, and next to that Joker card was a Xerox copy version of that card, and a small note that read, "Dear Batman, thank you for the yummy cure. Your friend, the Joker." Batman crumples up the note, and he says,
"Damn."
So Batman runs out of the old police substation when he saw a helicopter flying nearby. It was not a Tiger helicopter, it was a news helicopter. And Batman saw in the window of the news helicopter who it was. It was Vicky Vale. And Vicky Vale was inside the helicopter reporting to the people of Gotham what was going on, as she says, "Good evening, Gotham City. This is Vicky Vale, and our anonymous tip was right. There seems to be a proliferation of illegal guns within Arkham City, and I'm not just talking about handguns. I'm talking about assault rifles and machine guns and explosives. The question is, how is this getting inside a super prison?" All of a sudden, a missile flies at the news helicopter and hits its tail. And then the helicopter begins to spin out of control as it was going to crash inside the super prison. The helicopter crash lands on the portion of the old freeway bridge that was still standing. And Vicky Vale was the only one that survived. After she emerged from the wreckage, she quickly pulls out her smartphone and starts live streaming the entire event, saying to the people watching, "This is Vicky Vale, and I just survived the helicopter crash. Some missile shot us down, and I'm still trying to get my bearings of where I'm at the super prison." All of a sudden, she was interrupted by the sound of distant gunshots. One bullet hits the pavement by her feet, scaring her, and then she says on camera, "Oh God, I'm being pinned down by snipers. This may be it. Oh God, I wish there was someone here to help me," she said. Well, unbeknownst to her, her wish was coming true as Batman rushed to the scene. He had arrived just in time to see some snipers that were trying to kill her from a nearby building. Batman quickly got up there and he took them out one by one, snapping their necks. Then, after he was done, Batman quickly grabbed his zipline launcher and ziplined in to rescue Vicky from the old freeway bridge, in a scene very reminiscent to the way he rescued her from the Joker 9 years ago at the Flugelheim Museum. After he grabbed Vicky Vale, he took her to safety at the Church Medical Center. Then he went out to find Mr. Freeze's wife. But as he was on his way to the steel mill area, he heard Hugo Strange announce over the loudspeakers of the super prison, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen of Arkham City, please give a warm welcome to the former mayor of Gotham City, Mayor Quincy Sharp." When Batman heard that, he knew that was not good, so he quickly ran to the entryway of the super prison to get to Sharp before all the other prisoners did. As Batman made it to the gated entryway of the super prison, he could see Quincy Sharp was already on the other side of the chain link fence, and he was captured by a small group of the prisoners. Batman saw their numbers. It was 6. It was easy to manage. So Batman leaps off the tall building he was standing on and begins to dive bomb towards the group of men. They were close enough together. If Batman could take the first guy, he could take out the rest of them. As he was coming in at high speed, Batman dive bombs and crashes right into the first guy, and just as planned, he quickly rammed into the other guys, sending them all flying off to the side. Then Batman quickly gets up, grabs the mayor, pulls out his grapple gun, and grapples to safety with the mayor. On top of a nearby skyscraper of the super prison, Batman was hanging the mayor upside down over the ledge by his legs as the mayor was screaming,
"No! Please, no!"
And then the Batman asked the mayor,
I want to know everything about Strange and how you're tied into this.
And then Mayor Sharp says,
"I'll tell you everything. Strange came to me back at the asylum. He told me he had friends, powerful friends, the sort of people who could make things happen. All I had to do was turn a blind eye to his experiments and work on my campaign. He said his friends would ensure that I won."
And then Batman asked the mayor,
Who are they?
and the mayor replies,
"I have no idea. I never met them. They funded everything. Money was no problem. All I had to do was set up Arkham City and put Strange in charge. It made perfect sense. The scum of Gotham needed to be punished. It would be my legacy."
Then Batman says angrily to the mayor,
Strange has been removing anyone with evidence against him and sending them into Arkham City. Enjoy your legacy.
Then Batman angrily tosses the mayor to the side. Then he grabs the mayor and takes him to the church medical center to be safe there. So Batman continued his journey to the steel mill area of the super prison. As he was getting closer, he heard someone was tapping into his communication system, and Batman recognized the voice. It was Mr. Freeze. And Mr. Freeze was warning him that besides his wife being taken by the Joker's men, they also took a weapon that he had been working on called a freeze grenade, and he described it to Batman as the hand grenade version of his freeze gun. Batman took note and thanked Mr. Freeze for warning him. Well, Batman arrived to the area of the steel mill, and he began to deduce where they would hide Mr. Freeze's wife at. He quickly deduced that since she was in a heavy cryogenic unit, that they wouldn't take her far inside. They probably would stay around the waterfront area of the location. So Batman saw a building by the old dock area, and there the building had two men guarding the outside. Batman figured that's probably where she was at. So Batman gets over there and silently takes out the two guards guarding the front entrance. So he decides to go in through another entrance, and Batman grapples to the roof, finds an old skylight, and goes in through there. And he was right. There was the giant cryogenic unit of Mr. Freeze's wife, and the old storehouse was also full of boxes and crates. A lot of them were empty, but there were also several men in there. Batman counted 6. So Batman decided to make this quick and easy. He threw a tear gas pellet and it went off, engulfing the men in a thick cloud of tear gas, and Batman jumped down and took them all out quickly. Then he quickly went over to an old window and opened the window to let the tear gas clear out of the room quickly. Even though Batman was immune to the tear gas thanks to a pill he drank, but he needed to see where the weapon that Mr. Freeze told him was. As soon as he opened the window, the tear gas quickly funneled out and exited the room. Soon the room was clear, and Batman searched among the old crates, and he did find the weapon that Mr. Freeze told him about. It was next to his wife's cryo unit. It was a small silver briefcase with the words painted on it, "Freeze grenades." Batman opened the briefcase and saw inside. There was only 3 of those freeze grenades. Batman pulled them out and clipped them to his utility belt. Then he pulled out the radio transmitter that Mr. Freeze gave him and stuck it onto the cryo unit. And then afterwards, Batman emerges from the old storehouse. And as he emerged, he could hear Hugo Strange announcing through the PA system throughout the super prison, saying that it was 2 hours to Protocol 10. Time was running out, and Batman needed to get the cure before it was too late for him. Like and subscribe. The end.